Really excited. You know, and we've just had a walkthrough today, and even that gets your juices flowing just being out there in the field and going offense versus defense. So I think our guys are antsy to get back out there and compete.
So Jose was cleared to come back. What's your kind of plan for him?
Yeah, we'll ease him into it these next couple of weeks. You know, there won't be real practice reps, but he'll be there to participate in some walkthroughs, do some individual stuff. And so, again, it'll be a slow increase over time.
We've seen plenty of guys come off ACLs and be ready early, but what has what you've seen from Cheeto told you about him and how he's handled this?
Well, he's attacked it the right way, as well as you could hope, and that's no surprise given who Cheeto is as a man. And just watching him through the rehab, he's just done a great job making the strides that are necessary. Again, we still have to be cautious here going forward in the early parts of training camp, and that's what we'll do.
Coach, how do you envision the reps at right tackle? Are you going to give somebody specifically a job for a stretch, or is it going to rotate daily, or how do you see that?
Yeah, more daily to start, and then we'll just go from there.
Is the logic behind that rhythm?
It's hard, yeah. If you're rotating guys during periods and within the day, which is still on the table, but right now it'll start day to day.
So that we shouldn't jump to conclusions if we see it.
No, don't jump to conclusions, and also, you know, Jonah, everything great coming off the injury so far, but again, during this 4-day stretch, we do need to be mindful of him coming off an injury, not having spring ball. So there's adjustments that we'll make there that are more my call than anything else.
Will he practice today?
Yes.
I guess, you know, with Herbert's contract being done, does that maybe change the urgency around the front office to get Burrows? Or then how does that kind of impact things as going forward?
It doesn't impact me. You know, we're just getting ready for practice.
Zach, you talked a lot about it media today. How exciting it is not only for you guys, but Joe Burrow to have his first full offseason. But does that help him in just in terms of, while we've seen what he can do without a full training camp, now he has that ceiling to go on?
It certainly doesn't hurt. It certainly helps the team, you know, to have the starting quarterback out there taking reps. And because things are always different with the guy who's had the amount of reps and you know, the leadership qualities he has, that's always helpful. Again, just going back to the walkthrough we've had this morning, it's he's already doing things that are, you know, 300 level stuff, and it's day one install 100 level, and just a lot of these veterans on the team, not just Joe, have the ability to take that over and take the next step without us really even covering it in the meeting rooms yet, because we've only had one meeting. So that's just kind of the special part of the leadership and the veteranness that we have on this team right now.
Personally, are you hoping that a deal gets done soon between Joe and the Bengals?
I don't really have any thoughts on it. You know, it's just exciting to get this team back on the field.
Just so we stop asking you.
That'd be great.
What's the biggest difference maybe you've seen in Joe from the end of last season and now?
Man, you know, I hate to answer it that way because it makes it sound like there was something glaring there, and I don't feel that there was that way. So maybe there's something that'll jump out as we get back on the field and practice and accumulate some days. But right now he's got the same urgency that I've always seen from him, the same edge, and those are good qualities to have from your quarterback.
Was there anything you said to him in exit meetings to maybe focus on this offseason, to try to focus on?
In terms of his playing ability?
Yeah.
No, you know, the biggest conversations he and I have, just from play caller to quarterback, are situational things to engage in that conversation, because we're in a lot of those moments that are big moments. And so just for him to hear my thinking, for me to hear his thinking, those are the conversations that are always ongoing. And, you know, I'm quick to share my thoughts on all situations as far as scheme goes to make sure he knows exactly what I'm thinking and when. So I think those are the biggest steps that he and I take together, you know, as we go forward with the offense.
As good as he's been and as fast as he gets up to speed, how much of an advantage is it to have him fully healthy at the start of camp?
Yeah, it's a good thing for the team, you know, because, again, it's one of your best players out there taking the reps, and not only helps the offense, helps the defense. You know, they get a chance to see a quarterback operate at a very high level, and so I think it's beneficial for the entire team.
Zach, I know this team doesn't need some kind of rah-rah message from you, but is there a certain kind of message or tone you want to set to start camp for this team?
Well, there's things that we've covered internally as a team, you know, things that we want to focus on to get out of this training camp and, you know, to continue to push our own guys. But, again, they've all come in with a really good mindset, chomping at the bit to get that out there on the field like we did this morning. And so, again, we'll just take it day to day right now with all these guys.
Structurally, how much different, if it is at all, the first 4 days of camp than
your first 3 years here?
Structurally, no different than last year. It's pretty defined by the league what these first 5 practices are going to look like. So there's not much room for change there. There's just subtle tweaks that we've made really over the first 3 weeks that wouldn't even be noticed to most people because the structures of the practice are the same. It's just maybe how we divvy up some reps or focus on certain periods over others. But that's the benefit, again, of having a staff that's been in place now for a number of years is we're able to have those conversations at the end of last training camp. Hey, did we get in everything in a timely manner we needed to get in? Were we physical? Did we get the work in we needed? What do we need to modify for next year if the schedule remains the same? You're playing on a Sunday instead of a Thursday or Monday. And so that part of the being together has been helpful going into another training camp.
What about approach-wise? What are you trying to get out differently than you put in maybe the last few years with the guys?
I wouldn't say that the approach is much different. There's still some key objectives that carry over from year to year. The one thing that we stress as much as anything is just the communication, not taken for granted. Just because you played next to a guy last year, that we can't continue to stress the communication a different way. You might have somebody different lining up from you. You might have a different guy behind you, in front of you. And so that's a key point that we will continue to drive home every day is better to miscommunicate or communicate incorrectly maybe on August 3rd, August 13th, August 20th rather than, mid-September. And so those are the things that we want to make sure we're clear on.
I know it's what you
I'll get you, and then I'll go back to you, Jeff, after this.
It's what you've done in the past too, but no secret, scheduling practice from 2 to 3:30, 2 to 4. It's going to be hot this time of year. A lot of teams go earlier in the day. Is that on purpose? Is that something that you don't want to do? Is practice when it's hot? What's the thinking?
Yeah, twofold. It's part of the sequencing of how we want to install things. You get a chance to install in the morning, walk through it, practice it, review it at night, move on the next day. So that's one. Two is you look at our first game against Pittsburgh last year here at home. On offense, there was over 100 snaps. And you played an overtime game. I think Jamar played close to 100 snaps in that game. The lineman, obviously, quarterback, there's a lot of guys. So week 1 p.m., hot game, a lot of snaps. We want our guys to be ready for that and feel like they will.
One of your strengths is you've been able to read your team, read the room.
What else? I'm just kidding.
What do you read about this year's team? What do you think is different? How do you think it? And what do you have a mantra? Do you have a message for this?
The thing I really feels right now is like these guys are in the starting blocks ready to fire out. And that's just the sense you get around being around these guys is they're ready. You've really felt that since the spring. Joey Bozay made that comment to me a couple times during OTAs leading into summer break. These guys want to start going now, and start playing these games. And you don't take that for granted because that's not always the case. In the years I've coached, you don't always feel that. And this is one of those years I certainly feel like these guys are ready to go.
This is Jamar's third year, T's fourth year. What do you expect to see out of those guys as they continue to kind of get more reps and become more seasoned veterans in the league?
I think they're seeing how people will play them, and that's something you really learn from experience. You can show them all the tape in the world, and it's better a lot of times for younger guys to experience that with their own eyes and physically. And so I think that's a big thing that Troy Walters and Brad Craigthorpe do a great job of is preparing them, but they've also seen it firsthand over a number of years now. And so they're ready for how people try to take them away, people try to play them physically, what the different coverage structures they're going to see. And again, they've handled that really well through the first 3 and 4 years. Go ahead. I'll come back to you for Joey.
Orlando Brown, obviously you had the whole offseason with him, but training camp allows you to do a little bit more. I know you're still going to be very cautious, but in a training camp setting, when you've never had him here for a training camp, what are you able to get out of this period with a new player like that?
Well, you continue to learn about them, how they practice. I've got a pretty good guess on what we're going to see from Orlando. But again, so you get a chance to see it firsthand, how he meshes with the unit. Again, a lot of things that we feel like we got a head start on in OTAs and have a pretty good idea, but I guess you never really know until you see him firsthand go through a period of practices. Go ahead, Charlie.
Their versatility kind of like expanded during the course of last season. Are there different ways to use them kind of more baked into the offense now maybe this year?
I think so. You always want to have a level of creativity that can change from year to year and adapt as you go. But I think maybe to start this training camp, we've you don't want to say bypassed, but we've gotten to the next level of scheme that maybe we would have waited a little bit longer in years past and go ahead and push the envelope earlier. you don't want to skip those steps because you got some new pieces and you don't want to make sure something's left unsaid or taught. So you're very careful in that regard. But we got a lot of guys coming back that I think you're ready to push the envelope. And T, Jamar, TB, those are three guys that you're able to do that with.
How good Jamar is in space, and how much was the offseason job look at saying if he gets bracketed or clouded or whatever, we need to find as many ways possible to get him the ball in space.
Yeah, that's always the case. But again, I think the beauty of Joe Burrow is the discipline that he has, that he knows we've got great matchups elsewhere when teams are adamant to try to take somebody away. Still give opportunities to get him the ball, and scheme-wise, we got to do things to free them up, to make it difficult on other teams. But again, I think that because of the talent that we have, that's the beauty is you don't have to be forceful to push the envelope there. You can spread it out and find your other matchups elsewhere, and Joe usually does a really good job of that.
Zach, you mentioned the continuity that you have on your staff and how you can kind of see what y'all did last year, talk about that, move forward. How have you seen Lou change, if at all, in terms of the way he coaches, and having those head coaching interviews sometimes can broaden your perspective? How has that changed the way y'all talk?
I don't know that Lou and I have changed the way we talk to each other. I do think when you've been in the same position for several years, it does allow you to broaden your scope on maybe things the head coach deals with or the other side of the ball deals with, and that's certainly something you see from Lou. I've always really felt that from him, but I think just year 5, same job, it allows you to open yourself up, and I feel like I'm pretty open with all those coordinators and position coaches on things that I deal with and things I'm thinking, and hopefully they would feel that way. But again, I think Lou every year just keeps working to improve himself, and those guys believe in what he's asking them to do.
Last year at this time, Joe was going through the appendicitis. The year before that, obviously the ACL. The year before that, it was the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
How excited are you to be able to work with Joe going into training camp full speed the way a normal NFL quarterback?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, your starting quarterback is the one that can really make this thing go, and it's good for all phases of our football team to help on offense with the quarterback there. Defense gets a chance to go against one of the best in the business, and so again, I think it's good for the entirety of the team.
Zach, with all the free agents, draft picks, how important are first impressions these first few days to you and your staff?
I try not to put too much stock into the first few days because everybody's different. Some guys hit the ground running, and from day one, that's why we drafted that guy. That's why we signed that guy in free agency. Other times, it takes a little bit longer, and so I try not to be too quick to judge, and that's just experience in the job, and maybe writing a guy off too quickly or praising a guy too quickly early in training camp. And so again, we just let the work unfold and let the days unfold, and come September, we'll be in a position to make great decisions.
You've been carried there long enough now to where guys have been in, having contract discussions ongoing as y'all start camp. And, having done this enough times, are there things that you kind of maybe, when you're having communication with those players who are kind of trying to balance both, do you get involved in kind of helping them kind of through the process, talking to them about the field? How does that kind of work as a head coach?
Always open to those conversations, never forcing them. But again, letting other people take care of that stuff so we can just focus on what's going on the field.
That third down back competition, how will you evaluate?
Say that one more time.
The third down back.
Third down back, okay, yeah.
How do you evaluate that in practice?
Try to put them in as many situations as we can. It'll take shape. There's opportunity, plenty of opportunity. You don't have to have live tackling to see a guy block full speed. So the way we practice allows you to do that. I think it naturally takes shape. You're going to want to put them in that position in preseason games as well. It'll be great if teams want to pressure us, and that's all good. Those are all things that our whole team can learn from, whether you're on the field or not. But I think there's enough reps, enough opportunities where that'll take shape as time goes. And again, we've got a good backfield, a lot of talent back there, and sometimes those things work into the season and can evolve as the season goes as well. So we're open to anything, really.
Zach, you were already asked about the potential contract extension. Joe would be continued. I'm sure he'd be asked about that. There's a lot of talk about the Herbert thing right now. I guess the question is, with all that noise, how does Joe handle that? I mean, I know that there's no talking going on publicly, but how does he handle that noise?
Yeah, I haven't seen any change from him. I've seen the same guy with the same approach every day he's in the building. Again, he's been here longer than most of the other veteran players because the quarterbacks came in early. So I really like the approach I've seen. That's not shocking to me. But he'd probably be better to answer that question than I would.
How do you see the backup quarterback battle, and will Joe stat in the preseason?
So the backup quarterback battle, is taking shape similarly. You like guys to get into a rhythm to be able to assess how they play. And so that'll evolve each day as it unfolds. Do I see Joe getting starting quarterback reps in the preseason game? I've got an idea in my head of how we'll use the starters. I won't make any announcement. It can change from week to week depending on where this team's at. But, again, like I've said before, every year will be different. So just because in years past guys haven't played or just because in years past guys have played, that won't dictate what we're going to do this year.
When you have seen Dax, especially in camp last year in the preseason at free safety, kind of how has he looked and, now he build on that?
I think year two, things get a chance to slow down for guys, and in the position like Dax is, there's a lot on the safeties, and so I think every practice that goes by, again, he's a guy I think of when I think of stressing the communication with these guys, because the safety position is so critical, and you don't want to take for granted what we had with Jesse and Vaughn, and the high level of communication they had. Now we got other guys back there as well, and trust them to be able to not skip a beat, but it's going to take some work here in training camp to make sure we iron that out.
You mentioned that he, could be a factor, obviously.
You guys mentioned that he will be a factor, yeah.
You want to prepare your football team for the eventuality of maybe dealing with some heat. The way the schedule starts, you go to Cleveland and Baltimore at home, 2 division games, bang, bang, right off the bat like that.
1 o'clock.
Last year had the 0-2 start with 4-4, but still win the conference, the division. What's key in your mind to getting off to a fast start through training camp?
Protecting the football, because I think if you look at last season, that's what put us in a hole early, and so that is something we focus on during training camp. We present on it, and that'll be no different this year. Is making certain those guys are reminded of that.